say this year has given us more proof that the comic book movie bubble has popped? No, I don't think so, because this was just a bad year for comic book movies outside of one. And now one is a really big counterexample, in a sense. But like being like the comic book movie bubble is popped because Craven sucked and bombed. Well, no, Craven bombed because it was a bad idea for a movie, poorly executed, and part of a franchise that has burned through all of its trust. Well, the comic book movie bubble is burst because The Crow bombed and sucked. No, it wasn't a particularly good movie. That was a remake that stepped on a lot of toes on its base. Just by existing, it stepped on toes. Deadpool and Wolverine, MCU film related to Fox X-Men, highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. That's a huge counterexample. So, but I think it's also tough to make any meaningful observations about the comic book movie genre based off of this year, because Deadpool and Wolverine is not a normal comic book movie. It's a nostalgia film. It just is. Whether you loved it, you hated it, it is a movie built on nostalgia. I would say it does a very good job of delivering nostalgia and being very entertaining, delivering nostalgia. But it's not a movie that relies on, we've got a great just story that works in and of itself. The hook, the foundation for the whole thing is, remember the Fox X-Men universe. The whole movie's built around that. And that's almost a different genre. Now, it's of course it is a comic book movie, but it's nostalgia genre. It's member-bearing genre. It's a very good version of that. But that's not the same thing as The Winter Soldier is a good comic book movie. When you say The Winter Soldier is a comic book movie, you say The Dark Knight is a good comic book movie, you say Deadpool and Wolverine is a good comic book movie, two of those movies, it's built around a compelling narrative. One of those movies is built on, isn't it cool that they were able to pull all of this off and it worked? Same with Spider-Man No Way Home. It's like that other, it's the nostalgia genre as a comic book movie. But it's not, the strength of it is not, what a compelling, strong story in there. Man, no gimmicks required there. No. The two highest grossing comic book movies in the last 5 years were entirely reliant on nostalgia, entirely reliant on, man, we got to see my hero from 2005 interact in a modern movie. They came back. That's a gimmick, no matter how you spin it. Was it well done? Are they entertaining films? Did they pull it off? Does it work? Yes, to all of those. But doing multiverse gimmicks to pull people together, it's just a gimmick. It's inherently a gimmick. Gimmick does not mean bad. Gimmick does not mean, lesser. There's all the examples of movies that have done multiverse stuff that it did not work for a lot of people. I like The Flash. Most people didn't. There's movies that it didn't work. They didn't pull it off. It doesn't happen. Doctor Strange 2. There's two movies that did a great job of it, but they relied on nostalgia. That was foundational to those movies. The thing that makes them work is pulling people from the past. So I think that is the trick, because we've got examples of comic book movies still working, but they're relying on the past. We're not building big new stories. And, well, let's take a weird chances with Joker 2. Not such a great idea. And then let's do villain movies. Well, I guess Joker's that too. Hasn't paid off. So I think next year, with Superman, Thunderbolts, Captain America 4, Fantastic Four, these are more like traditional comic book movies. A kickoff to a universe, a new franchise a couple new franchises in the MCU, a refreshed version of Captain America. Like, this is much more a classic run of things. Daredevil coming back. How does next year go? I think that's what'll tell us. Do they deliver a great Superman movie that gets great reviews, great audience scores, and it still doesn't make $1 billion? Fantastic Four, oh yeah, it's classic MCU, $900 million. Is that what happens? Like, do any of these movies make $1 billion? I don't know. Does several of these movies make $1 billion? Do people still show up? Next year, I think will let us give us a much better idea where things are at, because this year was weird. We only had one, and it was a nostalgia film, and then we had a bunch of garbage. Last year, we had the flopbusters and the death of the DCEU. And, you know, MCU being like, ooh, we got to fix some things. Quantum Mania, the Marvels, problems. What happens in 2025? That will tell us if the bubble has burst.
Most of these clips are pulled from my Patreon live streams. I do about 6 live streams every single month. For $2 per month, $20 per year, you can get access to all the exclusive videos and live streams. For $5 per month, you get your name on my end card. At the top tier, you get a 30-minute video chat with me each month. The link down below in the description has more information.